Hello and welcome to my review of the Mechanicum Knight Magaera. One of these knights will cost you £151. You're probably wondering why that's so expensive compared to a normal Questoris knight of about 105. Main reason is because of all those resin pieces you see there. It was originally made by Forge World. I picked mine up for about £130, but I think I got it in a pack with the Styrics for about 200. A decent saving, I know, but they don't have that pack anymore, I don't think. So yeah, that means that to buy both of them, it's going to knock you back £300, which is, well, put it this way, you can easily pick up three Cerastus. You can easily pick up three brand new plastic Cerastus knights for the same price now. Would I recommend both the kits? It depends. If you really like knights and you want the full collection and you also have a Mechanicum army or you want to start a Mechanicum army, yes, go for it. But I have a feeling, it's a very wishful thinking feeling, that they will release plastic Mechanicum at some point. I would like to see that. I hope they do that. You know, the plastic Cerastus knights are definitely a step in the right direction. If they apply that to the Atrapos and then, you know, the Magaera and Styrics, just have one box for both variants. It's quite straightforward to do. They could include both the head options in the set, and they could include the different kind of claw fingers as well as the different main weapon. So one box, plastic, have both of them in there for about £100 or so. Anyway, the format of this review is as usual. I will go through, we'll have a look at the miniature up close and personal, and I'll give you my thoughts and opinions on it. And then we'll have a look at some of the spare parts, or the parts that I didn't you know, connect to this model just recently when I built it so far. Then we'll go through some size comparisons with a load of knights for Mechanicum, including the Asterius. So hopefully you'll enjoy that comparison. And then finally I'll go through all of its rules. I'm forever making a mistake of calling this the Styrics instead of the Magaera. For some reason in my head I just think that the Volkite is the Magaera knight. So if I do that, I apologise, but I do edit these videos, of course. So I will probably, you know, take the actual name of the knight out if I get it wrong. Anyway, without further ado then, let's have a look at this knight up close. The one thing I didn't do is put the shin armour panels on, which I suppose I could do now. They have the same armour panels for the shins on both this one and the Styrics, but there are differences, of course. You know, we'll talk about them in a moment, but first of all, you can see the main difference between the Questoris knight and one of these. Maybe I should just get a Questoris knight because I didn't really do that in the previous review. One of the reasons why this has taken so long to review is because I did review it way back in the day, last year, but I was so demotivated after I recorded a number of night videos that didn't have the audio, which sucks, that I just didn't continue and I didn't finish reviewing or go back and review them. One of those videos, of course, was the review of the Atrapos. Of course, as you've seen at the start of the week, gone back and reviewed that night finally. But this is the differences really between them. It's mainly the head and the cowl. It's mainly the head, the weapons, the shin armour, the groin armour, the carapace and the shoulder pauldrons, and sometimes you get a different kind of weapon loadout, a different kind of ammunition box and things here. I know that the Styrics has that, but yeah, they're the main differences, the parts that are in resin. And yeah, I think when these first came out, they were about, I want to say about 120, 125. So they're only like £20 or so more than the normal Questoris Knights, which wasn't too bad considering the amount of resin, extra resin that you'd get. I mean, this resin piece here would be like £20–25 or so extra on its own. So it wasn't too bad. But of course the downside is that these kits, these Questoris Knights kits, they weren't the full kit, so you didn't have every single, you know, different weapon sprue in there. Quite straightforward to put together. If you've built a Questoris Knight, it is just building one of those. But the, you know, the resin weapons, of course, will take a bit more modelling skill, I guess. But sometimes they are just in one piece. Sometimes they are in multiple, like the claw is, I believe. Just you know, just a few parts to clean up, like in between the gaps and a bit of green stuff and things here and there. But yeah, if you built a Questoris Knight, you should have no problem building a Magaera. Compared to the Styrics, this is the thing. I prefer the claw on the Styrics and I prefer the Volkite, but I prefer the head on the Magaera. I think the head is fantastic. If you can see that there, it's a very Mechanicum kind of machine-like head. I think it works really, really well. It doesn't care about having a, you know, heraldry or a faceplate or anything like that. It is just straight up, there's your head. It does its purpose. It's got one big monocular lens there with a couple of additional ones, and that's it. It's just built, mass produced, has a purpose to I guess electrocute vehicles really, and troops. It's not like the Styrics, which is purely to kind of deflagrate and rad cleanse and use little graviton singularity like pulses and things. This is straight up. It's got plasma there, you know, for burning, and then it's got the lightning to, you know, shock vehicles out of existence, I guess. Let's have a look at the spare parts. There are a few, I think. I'm not quite sure if these are the spare parts for it. You've got this cabling here. I've got the shin armour, a couple of knee pit plates, and then the chest armour, which is a bit disappointing with the chest armour because I would have liked to have seen something akin to what the Atrapos has. We might as well start off with the size comparisons if those were the spare parts. What I'm talking about is, of course, this chest plate. Very, very nice, Mechanicum themed, triple layering there. Lovely. Instead, for these Styrics and Magaera, we just get the, you know, the standard Questoris Knight, which is a bit, yeah, a bit poor. But anyway, moving on to these size comparisons then. As you can see, you know, this is the Cerastus Knight for Mechanicum. This is your Questoris Knight for Mechanicum. Yeah, there's such a height difference there. In a way, this Magaera makes the Atrapos look a good proposition, good value for money, because the Atrapos is £220, so it's only say only £70 more, but you get so much more for that £70, you see, because you're getting a full resin body, like the limbs, the torso, everything. You're getting so much more for that 70. The weapons are way bigger, more detailed, and of course on the battlefield it's just incredibly more useful, being faster and heavily armed as well, with that better initiative as well. I think it's got the initiative 4 with the macro extermination protocols. So other size comparisons, I'll just put a Moirax in there for the size comparisons right here. Bit dusty, but that one's got the lightning locks, which are, you know, much smaller version of this lightning cannon that the Magaera has. But you get the idea. Shares the layered plating and the curved shoulder pauldrons. Got some curved resin shin armour though, which is a bit spicy. I like that. I think the normal armigers have, I would say, more Mechanicum looking armour plates. I mean, if you look at that one, it's got kind of like the brick pattern there. I think that would have worked better than the smooth pattern on the Moiraxes, but that's just my take on that. And then let's compare it to the big daddy, the Asterius. This is kind of like a hunched pose really for this one, for this Asterius that I've gone for, this particular Asterius. I may have 6, and yeah, you can just see the difference there of so much more sort of, yeah, more of it really, you know. But again, you know, you're talking an extra £250, you know, to bump up from a Magaera to an Asterius. Again, I'm not quite sure nowadays whether, you know, £800 would be worth, you know, 2 Asteriuses, but they are, you know, as close as you can get to a Warhound Titan. So there is that, but it just blows my mind how, you know, over 20 years ago I was able to get a Warhound Titan for £250 with 2 weapons, and now I'm looking at an Asterius in front of me, which is straight up £400 for a knight. Of course it's the biggest knight, but still, it blows my mind that this is, you know, nowadays worth more than a Titan. And the final little comparison I like to make, let's just do this with the three 40k minis that I like to compare models to. So we've got the Primaris Space Marine, we've got normal Space Marine and Sly Marbo. Again, you know, knights are big units, even these Questoris knights, and the Moiraxes actually are quite tall compared to even Primaris Space Marines. The closest you're going to get to a Moirax knight in size will be obviously the Redemptor Dreadnoughts, but these Questoris knights are still a fair bit bigger than Redemptor Dreadnoughts, and yeah, of course the Cerastus knights are as well. But it gives you an idea of the size of these if you're thinking about building them as a force. Okay, this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for the Knight Magaera. It shares a double page spread with the Questoris Knight Styrics. It is a Lord of War choice, and in terms of points cost, it will cost you slightly more than a Styrics at base, at 385 points. But if you swap the Reaper Chainsword for a Siege Claw with inbuilt Irad Cleanser, then it's going to cost you an extra 25 points. So then that would boost it up to 410 points. So 5 points. So again, still going to be 5 points more than the Styrics. And at 410 points, yes, that means that it now costs more than both a Knight Castigator and a Knight Lancer, but still nowhere near the lofty peaks of an Atrapos at 500 points. So what do you get for these basically 410 points? Well, the stat line is exactly the same stat line as the Styrics, so it's a movement of 10 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill both 4, strength 8, front armour is 13, side and rear is 12, initiative 2, attacks 3, and hull points 7. So of course, you know, its weakness, it's got that initiative 2, which does make a big difference in combat, you know, compared to a normal Questoris Knight of 4, and it only has those 3 attacks. So with that claw, it's great that that claw's high strength and things. We'll talk about the rules very shortly, but you're only going to be able to, you know, use it you're only going to be able to use it 3 times. So the war gear, arm-mounted Reaper Chainsword. Again, I've mentioned that you can swap that with a arm-mounted Siege Claw with inbuilt Irad Cleanser for 25 points. You've got an arm-mounted Lightning Cannon, which is probably one of the main reasons you'll pick this model up, for that main big weapon. Hull-mounted Phased Plasma Fusil and an Iron Shield, and then special rules, it has Night Vision and Overtaxed Reactor. I mentioned what Overtaxed Reactor does in the Styrics review, but basically all that happens is when the model is destroyed, you resolve catastrophic damage at AP 3. So it's Siege Claw with inbuilt Irad Cleanser. That's exactly the same Siege Claw as you're getting on the Styrics. It may look a little bit different, but it is the same melee weapon. The Siege Claw itself, we'll just talk about that. It's a strength times 2, so that would be 16, so that is a big improvement over the Reaper Chainsword. Its AP is 2, it's a melee weapon, Brutal 2, Sunder and Wrecker. Again, like I said, you're only going to be getting 3 attacks at strength 16 with that though. It does have the Irad Cleanser built in, which is basically a flamer. It's a strength 2, it's a template weapon, it's a strength 2, AP 5, Assault 1, Fleshbane, Radphage, and then its point defense weapon, the Plasma Fusil, the Phased Plasma Fusil. It's a decent 24-inch range, strength 6, AP 3, heavy 3, breaching 4+, gets hot. It's actually very, very decent. It's got the joint second best armor penetration, along with a plasma blast gun and the Sun Fury plasma annihilator. So yeah, just at base level, that armor penetration is fantastic, you know, without needing to have the breaching 4+. So even if you don't get the breaching 4+, it's still going to be melting Space Marines, 3 of them in fact. So that's great. So that's a really dangerous weapon, and I would prefer to have that than the graviton gun that the Styrics has. But let's save the best till last. The lightning cannon. It is arguably the best lightning weapon, well, in the book at least. It's a range of 36 inches, so that sucks because it's the same inch range. It's the same range as the lightning lock. I would have liked to have seen this be at least 42, maybe at a push 48. It could be a bit OP at 48, but still 48. I mean, compared to other Questoris Knight weapons, like the I guess like the thermal cannon, which is a strength 8, you know, 5-inch blast. This doesn't have that. I would have liked to have seen it have. I would have liked to have seen the range increase on this one. But it's 36-inch range, strength 7, AP 3, so that shares exactly the same stat line as the lightning lock. Again, more of a reason why I think it should have a boost. It is a heavy 1, large blast 5-inch, rending 4+, shred and exoshock 4+. That is absolutely incredible. You know, other than the range, it's very decent that it has that 5-inch blast marker, but that's the only upgrade it has compared to the lightning lock, and I would have liked to have seen more, you know, because you can take 2 lightning locks, pumping out 3-inch blast markers, and utilising them for the same effect, whereas this one, it has that 5-inch, but I think it should be a further range weapon. It's going to be fantastic against any vehicles with the exoshock. It has that rending 4+, it has shred, and it is AP3, so it's going to be deleting, you know, 5-inch blast markers of Space Marines, so it's very good against Space Marines. If you can overlook that range, it's very good against vehicles and other Mechanicum units. This is a dedicated Space Marine vehicle knight, completely the opposite to the Styrics, which was mainly against softer, squishier infantry targets. So this is the one that you would go with if you're against loads of tanks and vehicles and, well, Space Marines too, in a way. If you couple this with like 4, it's a bit OP, 4 Moiraxes with lightning locks, you're going to be pumping out a lot of AP3 shots there, at a decent range as well. You know, if either popping the rhinos or taking out Space Marines that are out in the open, that's its weakness though, is against the high armored vehicles. You know, this strength 7 just isn't going to cut it. The lightning weapons are going to be great against infantry and units that are out in the open, as opposed to having protection from thicker armoured vehicles. And that's all I really wanted to say about the Knight Magaera. Do you agree with me? Do you think the lightning cannon should be a bit beefier, other than just the 5-inch blast marker? And are you going for the rule of cool for this Knight instead of a normal Questoris Knight? Please do put your thoughts and opinions of this one down in the comments below. It'd be great to hear from you today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.